Last time we had started taking a look at a section about logic, and we had gotten to the point where we had discussed a converse, an inverse, and a contrapositive. So, sorry, not an inverse, a converse and a contrapositive. And we're almost there. That was it. Okay, so we had talked about these forms of implications as a reminder. So these are different ways of saying the same if-then kind of statements we're familiar with. And we had done some examples, and then there was the converse of P arrow Q as Q implies P. And then we have, sorry about that, the contrapositive of P implies Q is negation of Q implies the negation of P. And did we write this one down? We did. We did the implication statement of every square is a rectangle would be something like, if it is a square, then it is a rectangle. The converse was if it's a rectangle, then it's a square, and if it's not a rectangle, it's not a square. And we'd also talked on this is the last thing that we did last time, was the fact that an implication is actually equivalent to its contrapositive, but it is not equivalent to its converse. So what we're going to look at next is we're going to look at something called a biconditional. Did we talk about this one? This is new. Okay. So the equivalence or biconditional of P and Q is written with a double-ended arrow. And what it actually means is it means that P implies Q and Q implies P. That's sort of the notational meaning. In English, the following are equivalent. P if and only if Q, or Q is equivalent to P. So if you see that phrase if and only if, that's talking about a biconditional. One of the places we see if and only if statements are definitions. That's a very common place to see them. It's more work when we see them inside of a proposition because that means we have to prove two different things, but we will see them occasionally there as well. All right, I have a couple more slides in this section about logic. These slides are really important. We're going to talk about them. And you will have a quiz next time in class about these two slides in particular. So these are the summary of logic, okay? Some of them we've already talked about. Others of them we've sort of hit on, but this is all in a condensed form, seeing it together. So the first logic principle or summary is that when you have the negation of P, that's equivalent to P. Okay? The second one is that the negation the negation of the implication P implies Q is equivalent to having P and not Q. And that should make sense, right? Basically what we're saying is that if P happens, Q automatically happens. But the opposite of that is that P happens and Q doesn't. Okay? The third one is that the negation of P and Q, the conjunction, we did this one last time, is the negation of P or the negation of Q. We did an example, I think the one we did was with raining and clouds or something, but we did a negation anyway of that one last time. All right, and likewise, number 4 is the negation of the disjunctive. So the negation of P or Q is equivalent to the negation of P and the negation of Q. 3 and 4 we talked about last time, and we had a name for them. Does anybody remember that name? De Morgan's laws. Yeah, those are De Morgan's laws. 5, and then on the next slide I'll have 6 kind of go together. These were the ones that had the universal and existential quantifiers. And so on number 5, the negation of for all x, P of x. Okay, so for that happening is that there exists an x for which P of x doesn't happen. So there exists an x and it's the negation of P of X. And then 6 is the similar argument there. It's a negation of their existing X such that P of X happens. For all X, the negation of P of X is what's happening. Number 7 was the one that we looked at right before our summary of logic rules or properties. And it was that the implication, P implies Q, is equivalent to the contrapositive. The negation of Q implies the negation of P. We haven't done 8, 9, and 10, so these are kind of new. The first one there of those 3, number 8, says that if P implies Q and Q implies R, then P implies R. It's this kind of deductive reasoning that people use a lot when they're trying to get from point A to point C. Right? Go through something that we can agree on in the middle, and then if we can get to the next point after that, then the first statement implied the third one. So we could talk about the weather today, right? If it is raining, then it is cloudy. We did that one last time, actually. If it is cloudy, then I'm a grumpy pants. Okay, so if it's raining, I'm a grumpy pants. This is what we just find out. All right, number 9. On number 9, if we know that P implies Q and we know that P happens, then we know that Q happens. It feels kind of funny even to write it that way. Number 8 actually has a name, just so that you're aware of it. It's called the transitive property. And then number 10 says that P or tilde P is always true. And you should look at that and say, well, yeah, because if one's true, the other one's false, and vice versa, which means one or the other is always true. And that's what the or statement's giving us. So when you come next time, we're going to start with the quiz. You'll do a quiz on this. It'll actually have you I'll have it written down, the first half of these. So if you will, it will say this piece, and this piece, and this piece, and this piece, and you'll write down the is equivalent to parts. You will also write down for me in English the kind of language that I was verbalizing as we went through. Right? The negation of P is P itself, right? The English for that. You're just going to write down a sentence that says what the symbols are symbolizing. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions about the quiz that's happening next time? Okay. I showed this last time as well. Not only is there going to be a quiz on Thursday over the logic rules, there are also a few homework problems, just 3. Questions 2, 3, and 4 from pages 91 and 92 that will also be due next time. Everybody have those written down. I know a couple of people didn't because I didn't actually show it on the video part of what I recorded last time. You got it?
I might be gone Thursday.
Okay. Let's chat after class then. Okay, everybody got it? We're good. Felipe, you're still writing. Sorry. Not trying to rush you. Got it? Okay.